Welcome back to Naruto Interview, special number 5. This one is basically my final thoughts on the Naruto manga itself. I just recently finished the manga, roughly about 2 or 3 days ago. Well, I read books 67 to 71 at the new Naruto Public Library, but for the final book, which I have right here, the final book in the manga, book number 72, which contains the last 10 chapters of the manga. Roughly some of the changes basically for books 57 to this one. There's only like one major change, and that's one thing with Kabuto, where he summons this change I did know about ahead of time, so yeah, where he brought back Orochimaru. In the anime, he brought back the Sound 4. Yeah, and some of the stuff was basically later expanded upon. Like, there's a scene basically when they're all everyone's under the Genjutsu, where you get a chance to see Tsunade basically walking with Dan, who basically became Hokage, and Orochimaru was there along with Tsunade's brother. Now that scene is actually now in the anime. That actually comes right at the end of the Jiraiya Scrolls arc, which takes up roughly 19 episodes. So that ending actually is canon with the manga, because that happened. That pulls directly from the manga. Yeah. Now, as far as I can tell, the first 699 chapters were definitely adapted into the anime. It's chapter 700, which I'm going to show off artwork from that. I'm not going to show off much for spoilers. It's roughly different art style. Yeah, here's Kishimoto's normal art style that he's done throughout the first 609 chapters. But for the final arc, yeah, it's like they changed the artwork. I don't know why. It's a little more colorful. Yeah, and there's a lot more colors in the final chapter. But roughly, it's a similar style to the Boruto manga. That's only about 14 chapters in, and the recent chapter came out a few weeks ago. So, we'll probably get a chance to see chapter 15 come out really soon. But as for the manga itself, I have heard chapter 700 was really a chapter that a lot of people did not like. But unlike with Bleach, people do not forget about Naruto, and Naruto is still popular after all these years. The manga itself is, not the whole franchise itself has grown since 1999, roughly 18 years. The manga itself ended 3 years ago. Now, I picked this up at Midtown Comics. Now you're probably thinking, a major comic shop selling manga? I was actually a little surprised, and I figured though, why not pick up the last book, because this was the only book I had not read yet for this manga. But roughly put, this is a great manga. Even though, yes, it's 700 chapters collected in 72 books, it is relatively really good. It doesn't have much of problems. The anime, even though that when it comes to part 2, I do agree with some people that the manga first portion, the version of part 2 is better than the anime version. But there's some stuff in the anime I really did enjoy. Like when they did stuff with Ashima, which basically introduced the Fire Temple, because in the manga comes completely out of nowhere. In the anime, they actually did a whole storyline about the Fire Temple. And plus also that the host of the Six-Tailed Slug, yeah, you actually got a chance to have Naruto meet him prior to, meet him under the reanimation jutsu. But yeah, it was kind of sad to see the anime basically just not adapt the 700 chapter. I mean, is there a possibility we could chance to see this chapter probably adapted sometime in the future? Well, it's just a possibility. But the thing is, here's kind of something really weird about this particular chapter. Now, relatively anybody who watches the Boruto anime, everybody is wearing pretty much the correct attire that they're shown wearing in the anime. Basically, people who show up in the actual anime itself, except for Sadara. Yeah, for some reason, Sadara is actually wearing not exactly the correct attire. I don't really know why Kishimoto thought this was a good idea. Now, when you think of Sada in the film, she basically wears a much different attire. Let's try to find a good panel of it here, of what her outfit looks like. Let's see. Yeah, it kind of looks like that. When you look at it closely, it kind of looks like she's wearing a school uniform. Okay, here we go. Yeah, that's the outfit she wears in the 700th chapter. But that's not the outfit that she wears in the Boruto anime. It's the outfit that she wears in the Boruto film. Now, I don't know why they changed this for, but they did. The outfit itself I actually do like, and changing from that outfit to the outfit she's known for wearing is good. It's better. Could I see this chapter adapted into one episode of the anime? It's a distinct possibility. I mean, they could probably do this as a flashback. It just depends exactly if they want to adapt this at all. I mean, the chapter itself is not very long. It's really just a breezy read. Yeah, that's the thing with the final chapter of the manga. It's not very long. It's like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, 11, 12, 13. Roughly about 24 pages. It's not very long, and there's not much dialogue in the final chapter. That's why it's very, very short. There is a couple characters that I actually thought this character was Meryl, but it's actually this character here. Her name is Mogi, I think her name is. Either it's probably Una and Mogi, basically these two here. Now, those of you familiar with these two when these two were children, these two are Konohamaru's entourage. Yeah. She actually showed up in one episode of the anime. He has not shown up at all. Would it be interesting? Yes. But yeah. Now, when I saw this on the back of the manga book, I was like, okay, this is actually a different style of art. Like, this is actually the back cover for book 72. This is actually also the artwork they used for chapter 699, which is the pencil chapter of the manga. Now, when I know what happened during the period of time between chapter 699 and 700, pretty much what's been filled up with that particular period of time is the light novels, which is roughly about 10 of them, and of course the film The Last, which is set 2 years after chapter 699. Now, there's still plenty of stories they could tell in that period of time, but also, as far as I can tell, Viz Media is taking their sweet time releasing the next few books. Now, let me look it up here. Let's see here. For the Secret Chronicles, these are more familiar ones. Only the first 3 have been released. The true stories have definitely been released over here. The last one came out this past March. But as for the Secret Chronicles one, which is simply Kakashi, Shikamaru, and Sakura, yeah, so the Sakura one was actually released this May of last year, while the last light novel was released roughly this past March. Now, there's roughly about 3 more books that were released. One is the book that was adapted to the last arc of the Naruto Shippuden anime, which is Konoha's Secret Chronicles, Perfect Day for Wedding. There's also the Gaara story and the Akatsuki story. Yep. Those 3 books have not been released in book form yet. They've been released in Japan. The Akatsuki book was released roughly 2 years ago, and I keep thinking, why hasn't Viz Media basically released these books? I have honestly no idea exactly why they haven't released these books yet, but they haven't. But roughly, these actually I think it's like 9 books. Yeah, roughly these like 9-ish books. Well, basically about actually it's actually about 7 books. Basically, kind of fills in some of the gap a period of time that takes place between chapter 699 and 700. Roughly, if you look at these books, they roughly take about two. I'd say about close to half of the period of time. I mean, there's still plenty of stories they could tell in this period of time um, that could easily fill it up. But my guess is that Kishimoto probably either one doesn't want to do in their light not has not ever come out, or that's one, or two. Um, my guess is he just want to focus on Boruto, so not much for Naruto. That's my personal guess, anyways. Like, I spoke to Edgar about this really interesting idea that what if in Boruto, my guess is probably to do this in the manga, is that what if they do a future chapter where they have it where Satoru becomes Naruto's apprentice, just like how Boruto in the Boruto film became Sasuke's apprentice, and also having Naruto send Satoru to Kakashi to learn her family jutsu because he's practically the only person alive who does know the Uchiha clan jutsu because he was the Kappe ninja. So obviously he would know that particular move. He'd probably also have Kakashi teach her about the Sharingan because, well, Satoru's got the Sharingan. That's just an interesting idea. It just highly depends exactly if Kishimoto probably would take up the idea, but who knows? I don't even know if he watches anime review series. I highly doubt he does. Because the guy is super busy and he can't exactly watch every single thing that's related to Naruto on the internet. Because, well, the guy is super busy, and the fact the guy is living off royalties from basically the Naruto books, and also the Naruto merchandise, like the toys, of course, the sales for the seasons, basically, that were released, both in the sub and the dub. That's probably where he gets all his royalties from, just like how the creator of Bleach is basically, even though he's not working any manga right now, he's still making money through royalties. So yeah, this is nothing unusual. I mean, you look at, let's say, Stan Lee. The guy gets royalty checks, like, a lot. He basically is set for life because all of his characters he created for Marvel basically have been pretty much mostly been put into the movies, and the guy does get a lot of royalty checks. Steve Ditko does the same thing. He basically lives off his royalty checks. There are some creators basically who can do that. Kishimoto is definitely one of them. Okay? But, yeah, in my honest opinion, the last chapter, it was actually pretty good. Even though for some people it could be just a good setup for the Boruto anime. But it just basically just, well, if they ever adapted this into something, this is just my personal guess, maybe they could adapt this into a flashback episode for the Boruto anime. Because if you look at it, this, well, you could put it sometime, like probably not before the anime, because when the anime first started, Boruto it was basically when the Ninja Academy was just starting up. So since the arc was basically going on, since they were just in the academy for a little while, yeah, this could be adapted. But my guess is they'll probably change Satoru's outfit. They probably have Satoru wearing her correct training attire, not the school uniform look, which is probably, in my honest opinion, not a good look for her. I like her look that she had in the Boruto film, and of course, basically, she kind of wears the same outfit in the Boruto anime. I like the outfit a lot better. I'm sure a lot of people agree with me because the outfit does not look good on her at all. Okay? But yeah, could this be adapted? It's a possibility. They might adapt this in the future, but it just basically depends on what the Boruto animators want to do. And plus, also, there's a big rumor that they might just do a redo. They might adapt the Boruto film into the anime. This is what I've heard. This is what's probably going to happen. Okay. Not much else I could tell about my final thoughts on the manga. It's just that it's really good, and I highly recommend it. Yeah, the anime does make changes to it. That's what adaptations do. They make changes. Usually the changes make perfect sense. Most of the time anyway. Some of the changes really make no sense at all. Okay? So, that's it for this Naruto special. Would I do another Naruto special special in the future? It's a possibility, but the reason I'm doing this is because I just finished up reading the Naruto manga, which took me roughly 6 months to read. Why? Because I was checking out mostly from the library, and plus also before I started reading the library, I got roughly the first 12 books done within just barely a week, because I got those 3-in-1s. But as for in this version form, this is only my 4th book basically I've got of this. Of volumes I own of the 72 released, I've got roughly about, let's see, 6. I got roughly 10 of the books. Yep. Out of the 72 volumes released, I have 10 of the volumes so far. I have only 10 out of 72. Am I planning on getting the other books? It's just a maybe. I probably will, but I had to find room on my bookshelf when I get back to my house, basically, with these books, because there's a lot of books. Okay? So, that's it for this one. Stay tuned for more videos in the future. Yeah. So, the next time I probably would see this special is when I review the Kakashi novel, because I'm going to read that first when I get home, because I just finished up reading the manga, so now I'll read the light novel. So, Kakashi first, then Shikamaru, then Sakura. Okay? But until then, I will see you there. Bye.